Breaking news out of San Antonio.
Tonight, stunning new evidence in what officials are calling the nation's deadliest case of human smuggling, contributing to one of the country's deadliest human smuggling cases in recent history.
It's a Tuesday afternoon outside San Antonio, Texas. A refrigerated semi-truck rolls down a highway, carrying what appears to be nothing more than 20 tons of fresh produce bound for a distribution center somewhere in the Midwest. A Texas Highway Patrol officer signals the truck to pull over for what should be a routine commercial vehicle inspection. The driver stays calm, hands over his commercial license without hesitation. The paperwork is spotless. The cargo manifest lists exactly what you'd expect. Vegetables, standard delivery, legitimate business. To anyone watching, this looks like a normal truck, but the K9 unit doesn't care about paperwork. As the handler walks the dog around the trailer, it suddenly sits down near the rear axle. A silent signal that something is very, very wrong. The troopers exchange confused glances. They open the doors, but crates of vegetables stare back at them. Even when they move the crates, they see nothing. They check the walls, the ceiling, the refrigeration unit, still nothing. But dogs don't lie. They bring in a density scanner, running it along the floor of the trailer. The readings come back strange. The floor is too thick and the measurements don't match what they should be for a standard refrigerated unit. Using heavy tools, officers pry up the metal floorboards, and beneath the cargo space, concealed inside a custom-engineered void, they find plastic-wrapped bundles vacuum-sealed to absolute perfection. This is 100 kilograms of pure meth. The driver is arrested on the spot, but during interrogation, something doesn't add up. He looks genuinely terrified, swearing he had no idea what he was hauling. He thought he was just delivering lettuce. The DEA agents watching from behind the glass start to realize he might be telling the truth. This isn't some rogue driver smuggling a few kilos on the side for extra cash. Instead, it was set up to fool federal inspections. And that single truck? It's just one of 250 in the fleet. The DEA has just stumbled onto the largest trucking-based operation in American history, and it's about to get much worse. To understand how a cartel manages to hide 50 tons of meth in plain sight, you need to look at the company they built, Southwest Logistics. This business had been operating for 15 years. They employed over 500 drivers, maintained a massive repair yard in Texas, and held legitimate contracts to deliver fresh produce to Walmart, Costco, and Kroger. But hidden inside this squeaky clean operation was something dark. DEA intelligence, led by Special Agent Maria Rodriguez, spent 18 months peeling back the layers. What they discovered was shocking. Southwest Logistics wasn't infiltrated by the cartel, it was owned by them. Roughly 150 of their trucks operated completely clean, hauling actual fruit and vegetables around the clock to generate legitimate revenue and build a spotless safety record with the Department of Transportation. But the other 100 trucks, those were priority units. These specific vehicles were taken to a cartel-owned garage for modifications. Mechanics installed hydraulic compartments beneath the floorboards, accessible only by removing specific produce crates in a precise sequence. The operation, codenamed Highway Harvest, revealed these trucks were moving anywhere from 50 to 200 kilograms of meth on every single trip. They traveled America's highways, delivering poison to distribution hubs in Chicago, Atlanta, and New York before reloading with legal cargo and heading back south. The drivers were part of a two-tier system. Most of them were innocent, hard-working truckers who had no idea they were sitting on top of a felony with every mile they drove. But a selected group, the priority drivers, received coded text messages, route deviations, and massive cash bonuses to look the other way. While cartel crews loaded the hidden compartments during maintenance stops that weren't on any official schedule. Over 2 years, this fleet moved 52 tons of meth and generated over $300 million in profit, all while maintaining a perfect safety rating with the DOT. Agent Rodriguez knew that taking down one truck wouldn't accomplish anything. The cartel would just write it off as a cost of doing business and throw the driver under the bus. To end this, she needed to cut off the head and everyone involved at the exact same time. But raiding a company with trucks scattered across 48 states is a logistical nightmare. If even one driver tipped off headquarters, the evidence would be shredded, the hard drives wiped clean, and the cartel leadership would vanish back into Mexico before the first warrant was served. The date was set, October 20th. 400 federal agents from the DEA, FBI, and Highway Patrol were mobilized in complete secrecy. They tracked every single priority truck via GPS in real time. They positioned SWAT teams outside the corporate headquarters in Texas and placed surveillance units at distribution warehouses from coast to coast. At 4 a.m., the order was given. The largest simultaneous trucking raid in U.S. history was a go. Command centers in Washington, D.C. and El Paso light up with live feeds. Across the United States, the trap snaps shut. On Interstate 10, a priority unit moving westbound is suddenly bathed in the flashing lights of 3 unmarked DEA SUVs. The driver, a 10-year veteran of the company, pulls over assuming it's another routine inspection. He has no idea his name is already on a federal indictment. As he steps out of the truck, he's met by agents in tactical gear. He's handcuffed against the side of his own truck while a specialized team begins tearing apart the floor of his trailer. Minutes later, they pull out 50 kilograms of meth hidden beneath a pallet of avocados. This scene plays out simultaneously on highways in 12 different states. Drivers are pulled from their sleeper berths at truck stops, intercepted at weigh stations, and surrounded at rest areas. But the heart of the operation is in Texas, at the Southwest Logistics corporate headquarters. At the scene, an FBI SWAT team breaches the front doors of the building. The executives are pulled from their desks and thrown to the ground. They spent years believing their legitimate business front made them untouchable. They thought $50 million in legal revenue bought them immunity, but they were wrong. Agents move room to room, seizing servers, financial records, employee files. They find the shadow ledgers, encrypted files that tracked illegal profits separately from the company's legitimate hauling revenue. At the same time, a second tactical team hits the company's maintenance depot. This is the engineering center of the entire conspiracy. Inside, they find mechanics in the middle of welding a false floor into a refrigerated trailer. They're arrested with welding torches still in their hands. The tools and blueprints confirm the DEA's worst fears. The concealment methods are industrial grade, involving hydraulic lifts and climate control bypasses specifically designed to fool X-ray machines at border checkpoints. By sunrise, the scale of the takedown becomes clear. The arrest count climbs rapidly. 273 individuals are in custody. This includes the CEO, the logistics coordinators who routed the shipments, the mechanics who built the traps, and the priority drivers who knowingly hauled the product. But amidst the chaos, a different kind of tragedy emerges. Federal agents detain nearly 500 drivers in total. As they process them one by one, investigators realize that nearly 150 of them are completely innocent. These are men and women who simply applied for a job, drove their assigned routes, and delivered produce to warehouses. They're pawns in a billion-dollar game. The DEA verifies their innocence and returns their commercial licenses, but their livelihoods are destroyed in an instant. The physical seizure numbers are staggering. As teams across the country unload trucks and raid distribution warehouses, the pile of confiscated products grows. It's not just a few kilos here and there, it's 52 tons of meth. The street value exceeds $2 billion. In the warehouses, agents find the product vacuum sealed and hidden inside crates of bananas, concealed within the walls of trailers. The cartel has turned the American food supply chain into a delivery service for death. Before the sun sets, the company that generated $300 million in illegal profit is effectively erased from the map. But for the 273 people in handcuffs, the nightmare is just beginning. Federal prosecutors aren't treating this as a standard case. They unlock the nuclear option of federal law enforcement, the RICO Act. By designating Southwest Logistics as a continuing criminal enterprise, they charge the entire corporate structure as a single criminal entity. This means the CEO sitting in his glass-walled office is just as liable for the 52 tons of meth as the driver who physically hauled it across state lines. The defense attorneys for the executives argue that Southwest Logistics was a legitimate company infiltrated by rogue employees, pointing to 15 years of tax returns and contract with America's biggest retailers as proof of innocence. But the DEA prepared for this lie. During the trial, prosecutors unveiled the shadow ledgers seized from corporate servers. These documents prove the executives budgeted for the operation. The records show the legitimate trucking revenue, around $30 million annually, was merely the operating cost to cover $300 million in annual product profits. The jury sees emails discussing priority unit maintenance schedules that align perfectly with cartel shipment dates. The legitimate business defense collapses in real time. In the judge's view, these defendants betrayed the public trust. The company executives receive life in prison without the possibility of parole. The priority drivers face a grim reality. Those who refuse to cooperate receive sentences ranging from 20 to 40 years. Even those who flip and testify are handed 15 to 25 years. The mechanics, the engineers of the conspiracy who welded the hidden compartments, receive sentences of 15 to 30 years. Special Agent Maria Rodriguez receives the highest commendations the agency can offer. Her investigation exposed a systemic vulnerability in national infrastructure. By taking down Southwest Logistics, the federal government sends a message that echoes from the cartels in Mexico to corporate offices across the U.S. There is no cover deep enough. If you cross the line, you will be annihilated. If you found this breakdown fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next takedown. I'll see you in the next one.